Hey folks, so today we're diving into something that I call the cortisol connection. It's how we can actually measure the impact of poor boundaries on our hormonal and nervous system. So if you've been feeling anxious, exhausted, or just simply off, despite doing all the right things with diet and exercise, this video is going to be eye-opening. So let me share something personal with you. A few years ago, I got my cortisol levels checked and tested. And when I saw the results, frankly, I was totally shocked. I wasn't totally surprised, but I was shocked it was as bad as it was. So instead of the normal curve where it spikes in the morning, then gradually slows down through the day, mine were a complete crash and burn. So I'd have a really early morning spike due to a lot of coffee, frankly, and then a quick crash and then flat line throughout the day. And then I would actually get an uptick early morning hours, which gave me that 3 a.m., 4 a.m. wake up. Does that sound familiar? So what happened is that in real time, I saw my own labs. And what I see in others all the time is what I help people regulate. Because this is what happens when your nervous system can't tell the difference between a genuine threat of always being available to and always being on and available to everyone else. So that was really my wake-up call, frankly. What I thought was dedication, right? So answering emails at midnight, never saying no, being available 24/7, right? Was actually creating measurable damage to my hormonal system. So let's talk a little bit about what cortisol is supposed to do. This hormone follows a natural rhythm. It peaks in the morning, and when you wake up and face the day, then it gradually declines throughout the day, reaching its lowest point or so actually around midnight. This rhythm is crucial for energy, immunity, mood, and sleep. But when we consistently violate our boundaries, saying yes when we mean no, remaining constantly accessible, ignoring our need for rest, we disrupt this delicate hormonal balance. And recent research has actually found that people who struggle with setting boundaries show measurable disruptions in their cortisol patterns. This science is clear. Your boundaries and your biology are deeply, deeply connected. Your body is constantly sending signals about your boundaries, but many of us have learned to ignore these messages. So let me share what I think is the most reliable physiological markers, or what are, that indicate the boundary is being crossed. So first, there are immediate markers that happen during the boundary violation. So that might be heart rate variability dropping. Many people wear wearable devices that track this now, which is great. And it's a direct window into your autonomic nervous system, okay? Number 2, muscle tension, especially in the jaw, the shoulders, the diaphragm. You ever realize you're not breathing? You're literally armoring yourself against the boundary violation. And then breathing changes, shifting from deep diaphragmatic breathing to shallow chest breathing, and digestive disruption, sudden stomach aches, or change in appetite. Then there are delayed markers that show up after a chronic boundary violation. So that could be disrupted sleep. That can look like elevated inflammatory markers, changes in thyroid function, insulin resistance, sex hormone imbalances. These are just subjective, they aren't just subjective feelings, they're measurable indicators that your body is paying a price for poor boundaries. So I always like to bring it back to some client and patient stories of Jenny, her 32-year-old teacher. She came in with classic boundary depletion symptoms, so exhaustion, brain fog, weight gain, healthy diet, and persistent anxiety. So the healthy diet there, right? Her initial testing revealed evening cortisol 3 times the normal range when we want it down in the evening, inflammatory markers showing chronic inflammation, early insulin resistance, poor heart rate variability, progesterone at only 40% of normal levels. We implemented a comprehensive boundary reset protocol along with the functional medicine work, which I'm going to share with you in a few minutes. After 6 months, her follow-up testing showed remarkable improvements. So normalized cortisol rhythm, inflammatory markers reduced by 68%, insulin sensitivity improved by 45%, HRV down by 37 or up by 37%. The numbers don't lie, really. So protecting your boundaries isn't selfish. It's necessary for your hormonal health. To truly understand how boundary violations impact us, we need to talk about the autonomic nervous system. This is the control center that governs our stress response and recovery. And this system has three main branches. Number one is the sympathetic branch. That's our activating system like fight or flight. Two is the parasympathetic branch. That's our rest and digest. And three is the social engagement system. That's our connection circuit. Healthy boundaries will require all three branches to work in balance. But when we consistently violate our boundaries, we get stuck in sympathetic dominance, constantly in fight or flight mode. And then according to polyvagal theory developed by Dr. Stephen Porges, our nervous system is constantly scanning for safety or danger. And when we override our boundaries, we disrupt the scanning process, essentially telling our system to ignore danger signals. And over time, this creates what I call boundary blindness, where we literally lose the ability when our boundaries are being crossed, the ability to detect this, until the violations become extreme. The good news, there is good news, I promise, that this process is reversible with the right practices. So let's talk about what to do when boundaries have been crossed. I've developed what I call a nervous system reset protocol that combines evidence-based approaches to restore balance after boundary violations. First, the immediate reset for right after a boundary crossing can look like orienting practices. So 2 to 5 minutes of simply looking around your environment, naming objects and activities that you might see. This activates your dorsal vagal complex and signals safety to the brain and nervous system. Second, you can also do a physiological sigh. It's 1 to 2 minutes. Inhale deeply through your nose. Take a second shorter inhale. Then exhale slowly through your mouth. This triggers immediate parasympathetic response, the rest and digest. And then cold exposure, 30 to 60 seconds, splash cold water on your face or place an ice pack on the back of your neck. This actually activates the vagus nerve and reduces cortisol output, just like that. Bilateral movements, 3 to 5 minutes of rhythmic alternating movements, even just tapping shoulder to shoulder. This helps process the neurological impact of boundary violation. For the short-term reset, this would be like on the same day, focus on sensory grounding with all 5 senses. So vagus nerve stimulation through humming or gargling or even like ear massage. Narrative integration through journaling, right? So for a long-term reset over the following days, you could do metabolic recovery with some specific nutrition, movement medicine to process stress hormones, social connection repair, boundary reinforcement processes. This isn't just about feeling better. This actually creates measurable shifts in your physiological markers. This is work I love to do with clients. So let's talk a little bit about specific meditation techniques that require hormonal resilience. These aren't generic meditation practices. They're actually designed to work directly with your neuroendocrine system. The first one is the adrenal rhythm reset meditation, I like to call it. So you're going to sit comfortably with your spine erect, nice and straight. Place one hand on your lower abdomen, one hand on your heart. Visualize your adrenal glands in your lower back. Breathe in for 4 counts. Imagining morning sunlight filling your adrenals. Hold that for 2 counts. Exhale for 6. Imagining balanced cortisol release. This practice helps normalize cortisol patterns over time, especially when done within 30 minutes of waking. Another powerful practice is vagal tone meditation. Focus on the pathway of your vagus nerves, all the way through here, from the base of your skull into your abdomen. Inhale for a count of 5, and then exhale for a count of 7. You do this 7 times, imagining your vagus nerve glowing with blue light. It's really powerful. Research shows that extending your exhale increases that parasympathetic activity, countering the sympathetic dominance from poor boundaries. Some other effective techniques could include hormone harmonizing body scan, boundary visualization meditation, compassionate boundaries, loving kindness practice, which I recommend rotating through these throughout your week, giving special attention to the ones that resonate with your particular boundary challenges. You can go back to posts I did back in February talking more about loving kindness work. And as you implement these practices and reset techniques, these are helpful to track your progress. These are about subjective and objective ways to measure improvement. So if you're tech savvy, You can consider HRV monitoring devices like an Oura Ring, Whoop, or an Apple Watch. Sleep quality metrics, especially deep and REM sleep, mood and energy tracking apps. For a low-tech approach, you could keep a simple journal of daily energy patterns, kind of what I like to do. Create a weekly symptom inventory. You could note correlations between boundary practices and how you feel. And for those wanting the real data-driven validation, I get it. We can actually do salivary cortisol testing. We can do a test for inflammatory markers. We can do comprehensive hormone panels. As you develop your stronger boundaries and hormonal resistance, you're going to notice benefits that extend beyond your personal well-being. My clients consistently report improved relationship quality as interactions become more intentional. It's the work I love to do for people. Enhanced professional performance through better energy management, greater intuitive clarity once the noise, right, of boundary violations diminishes, and again, more authentic connections based on mutual respect rather than obligation. One of the most beautiful things I've witnessed in my work is how one person's boundary practice can create a positive ripple effect in their communities. It's really, I'm not exaggerating here. When you maintain healthy boundaries, you actually model this behavior for others, for your children, for your colleagues, for your family, for your spouse, for your friends. And when we heal our own boundary issues, we participate in a collective healing. It really is that powerful. Our regulated nervous systems help regulate others. The truth is, your boundary practice isn't selfish. It's a meaningful contribution to a healthier way of relating to ourselves and each other. And as we wrap up today, I want to leave you with this. The measurable impact of poor boundaries on your cortisol and overall hormonal health isn't something to fear. It's information that empowers you to make different choices. Your body's signals aren't character flaws or weaknesses. They're sophisticated communication from a system designed to protect your well-being. So until next time, we'll see you around.